Hi, Jason Canola, GQue Barbecue. Today we're going to show you the perfect holiday meal, the prime rib. We're going to teach you how to select one. We're going to teach you how to smoke it to a perfect medium rare and put a nice flavorful crust on it. We're also going to show you a whiskey peppercorn sauce that goes great with it. This is going to be the piece of meat that you want to invite Santa and his reindeer down to enjoy it with you. If you want to see how we're doing it, it's coming up right now. So what is prime rib? Prime rib is part of the ribeye roast. This is a prime USDA graded out piece of meat. Approximately 3% of all cattle in America get a prime rating. You can see all this beautiful marbling. All this fat's going to get rendered out and give us a nice juicy piece of meat when we cook it. A lot of times people will call any ribeye roast prime rib, when most of the time it's probably choice graded meat, which is the next grade below a prime. Be sure to look on the label or ask the guy behind the counter, am I getting prime graded meat? It's definitely a difference that you can taste when cooked right. So now that we've selected our prime rib, how are we going to season it? First thing I like to do is take a look at it and make sure I've trimmed off any excess fat. There's a nice kind of layer of fat right here, so I'm going to get rid of this. You can also get pretty aggressive and take off of these bones. Sometimes you'll see these ribeye roasts with or without bones. The bones are going to actually act as a shield to the heat and cause some uneven cooking. However, to keep things really easy, I'm just going to leave the bones intact today. You will get a more uniform cook, and the likelihood of getting a bumper to bumper medium rare will be better if you remove these bones, but we're going to leave them intact. The next thing I like to do is season it. I like to keep my seasonings very simple. For beef and a nice piece of prime meat like this, I don't want to overpower the naturally great tasting beef. So I'm going to put down a base layer of kosher salt. It's going to be a pretty light coating. This is going to really wake up the meat. I'm going to leave this on for probably about 30 minutes, but you can leave it on all the way up to about 2 hours before we put our next layer of seasoning on. It's been 30 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and put our seasoning on. I'm going to use our rub that we use here in-house. This is a perfect complement to the beef. It's got some salt, it's got a little bit of sugar, it's got some different chilies in here. It's also going to give it a nice, beautiful crust as well too. So I'm going to put a nice light coat of this all over the prime rib, and then we're going to smoke it. Today we're going to use hickory wood to get a nice subtle hickory smoke flavor into the meat as well too. We're going to cook it at 225. I personally think it's important to keep your temperatures low on a prime rib. If you go too hot, if you get it all the way up to 300, 325, 350, I think your likelihood of overcooking some of your outer edges of meat goes up. So we're going to keep it nice and slow, let it cook till it reaches an internal temperature of about 118 degrees. Then we're going to pull it out and put a reverse sear on it to get that nice beautiful crust. So our meat's on the smoker. Sometimes you'll see people use butcher twine wrapped around it. That's very important to use if your meat is not proportionate or even. If it falls over and you got one end really thick and one end really thin, you should wrap your meat in butcher twine before you put it on the smoker. I like to keep things as easy as possible. This to me looks fine, so I'm not going to mess with any butcher twine for this cook. All right, so we just pulled this guy off. It temped it up slightly over 130 degrees, which is too high. Ideally, we would have pulled this thing right around 125 degrees, so that gives us about 5 degrees to sear off the edges. We would sear off the edges by putting it on a very, very hot grill or in a 500-degree oven just for 3 to 4 minutes to get a nice golden brown dark crust. Since we're already at 130 degrees, I'm not going to cook this anymore, so we're going to slice into this guy as soon as one of my employees, Jared, shows you how to make a sauce that he insists tastes wonderful on prime rib.
Jared with GQue here to show you one of my favorite sauces for prime rib. It is a whiskey peppercorn sauce. First thing you're going to do, you're going to start with 4 ounces of whiskey. Reduce that down just to burn off the alcohol. Once that's reduced down, you'll see a much more golden color in there. You're going to add about half a stick of butter. And and let that melt down. So once your butter's all melted down, you're going to want to add about a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. And then 1 full beef bouillon cube as well. And you're going to want to make sure that's stirred up and combine it all nicely. Then what you're going to want to do is lower the heat as low as you can get it with it still being on, and then finish with a bit of cream. Alright, and of course, to make it a peppercorn sauce, I use black pepper, red pepper, and green pepper. And you can add as much or as little as you want, depending on how peppery you like it. And this is the whiskey peppercorn sauce. Takes just a couple minutes to make, and it tastes amazing.
We've got this prime rib sliced up. We poured over Jared's whiskey peppercorn sauce. There's only one thing left to do. Time for my favorite part, the taste test. Wow. You hear people use the expression like butter. This is like butter. It's nice and warm, super tender, just melts in your mouth. I thought that was absolutely delicious. Jared, what did you think?
I thought it was amazing. It was cooked perfectly, and the sauce complements it very well. It's the best breakfast I've ever had.
Sauce was fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing that with everybody. Whiskey, peppercorns, 2 of my favorite things. Put those together and put it on some succulent beef. It's absolutely going to be outstanding, which it was. Only thing that I would have done differently is kept a better eye on the meat. We ended up pulling it at 130. I wanted to pull it at 125 so I could put a reverse sear on it so we could build that very flavorful crust. We weren't able to get that, and this prime rib was missing that, in my opinion. If that prime rib is something that you guys wanted to taste, give us a thumbs up. In our next video, we're going to take mac and cheese and put it inside of an edible prosciutto bowl. If that's something you don't want to miss, smash down that subscription button and you won't miss that video or any other video. This is going to be our last video for 2016. I want to wish everybody a safe and happy New Year's. Jared, anything you want to add?
Have a happy holiday season from all of us GQ.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much. Jason Goodall, GQ Barbecue, and we'll see you next time.